I'm a girl on fire, I'm not a victim, a girl on fire, I'll stand my ground, girl on fire, I've made a choice, I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire, I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, I'm every woman. I have taken up arms and I choose to defend all that.
We net agter hier for Tactical TV and Ghosted Girls on Fire, 16 days of action for no violence against women and children. I'm here with the beautiful Chantal. Thank you very much for joining us, Chantal.
Thank you so much, Lynette. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Tell us, you've had a long journey and hopefully it's all sorted out by now, but it will always be with you. Can you tell us what happened in 2012? Where did this whole palaver start?
Sure. So I was living in Durban and I'd met this guy and he said he lives in Joburg and do I want to come with him for the weekend to meet his friends and family, and we were going to get serious seminar. So I was like, okay, let me go see if I fit in. And anyways, we arrived and everything was fine. I think it was maybe day 2, because we were just there for the weekend. We went to Primi Piazza in Alberton and a whole bunch of his friends arrived. And there wasn't any it wasn't weird. Nothing was weird. It was normal. It seemed normal. And anyways, we finished up eating and everything. We went back to their house in Meyersdorp. And just by the way, I've never gone back to Alberton since this incident. Okay, I'll tell you when we get there. All right. So we get back to the house and it becomes this house party that apparently the Joburg people do. I'm from Durban, so I didn't quite fit in with their drinking. They drank quite heavily. I remember I was feeling perfectly fine. We had got to the house. We were maybe at the house for about 10 minutes. And I started to feel like I just felt like severely drunk. And I said to my friend at the time, who became my boyfriend afterwards, but I said to him, something's wrong, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to go lie down. Can I go lie down in your bedroom? He said yes. I went there and I I closed the door and I went to sleep. But now I don't even remember half of that, getting to the room, lying down. So I woke up at around, I don't even know, 1 or 2 in the morning, and the room was dark. I remember keeping my eyes closed because I couldn't quite open them. It was very we ascertained later on that I had been drugged by said person, but basically what was going on was this guy was taking photographs of me. I remember feeling my pants were around my knees and my shirt and bra were pulled up over here, and my fight or flight kind of synced in, and I knew if you open your eyes, one or two things are going to happen to me. Either he's going to get violence, and this is it. And I'm quite street smart. I grew up in Edenvale a little bit with my mom, Primrose. So I'm very streetwise. I know what to look out for. I've always been very careful. Anyway, so I knew if I open my eyes, this guy is going to see that I'm opening my eyes and I don't know what he's going to do. So I continued to let him take his photos, pretending to be sleeping. And the photos were very, there was lots of spreading, and it was, yeah. So let's call the guy who I ended up dating, let's just call him like John or something, okay? So John's sister, I heard her voice outside the bedroom door. They lived in a double-story house, very rich Meyersdorp area. And when her voice was heard, this guy heard her voice and he got a fright and left the room. And I remember it was in a second that I jumped out of the bed and ran to the bathroom and closed the door because there was an ensuite bathroom in the room. And I locked it, and I was just staring at myself in the mirror, like pulling my stuff down, and I was just like, okay, so that happened. Now I've got to find someone in this house because I need help because I don't know who that person was. In one of the flashes, I slightly opened my eyes just like this, and I saw like a white vest and the guy was wearing a black cross around his neck. So bear in mind, I've always wanted to be a journalist, so I was gathering as much as I could because I knew that I wasn't going to stop, that this wasn't going to stop there. So I eventually ran out of the room upstairs to where I could hear the sister because I thought she would be my safest space at that time to go and tell her, listen, I need help. Something's just happened. And when I got to the top of the stairs, a guy with a white shirt and a black necklace with a cross was standing at the top looking at his cell phone. And I knew immediately then and then that that was the person. But when I tried to step past him to get around to go to the room, he kind of tried to stop me but couldn't because the sister came, and then it would have looked, I don't know, strange for him. I'm not sure. I don't know. Anyways, I get her in the bathroom and I'm busy telling her what's happened, and I can see in her ensuite bathroom there's like a mirror, and that mirror goes down the passageway, and I can see this man is standing watching, hearing what I'm saying to her. And then anyway, she thought I had a bad dream, and she went to go and get John from downstairs, and I locked the bathroom door. That guy didn't leave. He was standing there the whole time until John came upstairs and then asked me what's happening, and I told him. And then they were all convinced. These people don't know me. They were like, you know, she's just had a very bad dream. She's just shaken up. She's fine. Nothing's wrong. And I'm now filled with a house full of people who don't believe what I'm telling them, and because they don't know me, and including this man who's now sitting around the table whilst everyone's trying to figure out why am I so hysterical. It was about 10 minutes later, him and his wife, who was also in the house at the time, him and his wife left the house while I was still in panic mode. And before everybody left and decided to sleep, I asked for his details, the guy's details, like where he lives, where he works, his number, anything that I could do to take with me to the cops, because I'm not going to let it go. You've done something, you've done something to me, and I needed to report it. So I got everything out of very drunk people. I got everything I needed. I hopped into John's car and I started driving around Alberton looking for a police station. I remember I went to a whole different direction. I got lost. All this while I'm like trying to something just happened to me. All I want to do is find a police station. Eventually I pulled into a garage after going the wrong way to another police station that was the wrong one to report my incident at. And then I went to the garage and I said, I can't for the life of me find this police station. And it was the Brackenhurst police station in Alberton. Eventually the cops said that they would take me there. So I followed them. And when we got there, then I parked my car and I went inside, and pretty much it was ignored. I was there for help. The police officer said this girl is here, she needs help. We just know this and this and this much about why she's here, but someone needs to help her. And then they left. And then I ended up sitting outside on the cold floor, right outside the police door, waiting for them to call me so I can do my thing. My battery started to die on my cell phone because my dad was phoning me the whole time saying, are you there? Okay. Because I'd actually initially phoned him to say, what should I do? This has just happened. And he was said to me, cops, go now. So yeah, it was about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning when I arrived at the police station. And the sun was coming out when they decided to help me. And they only decided to help me because I decided it's not worth it. I'm cold. I don't know where I am. I'm going to get back in the car and I'm going to go back and tell John I want to go home. That's it. I was just going to leave it there. And then as I got up and started walking, then one of the police officers said, no, we're ready for you now. Come. So I was like, okay, all right. I'm not showing any kind of irritation at all. I'm being very emotional. Like I just gone through this thing. I'm 22. Like, what do I know, you know? So anyway, so I go to the back with them, and they took my statement. I gave them a statement, and I had, when I told them what had happened, I was on my period at the time, so I knew that there hadn't been any kind of rape that had taken place, barring maybe the utilization of fingers. There wasn't any, if girls will know, you just know. So I had said that. I'd said this. I'm not calling this rape. I don't know what to classify this as. And they said, well, we're classifying it as rape. That's what we do. It's falling under this category, etc. So, I mean, I'm like, okay, if that's how the law is, then okay. Because I was very naive and stupid back then. I didn't know. Anyway, so they take my statement. There was I'm not sure if I should say races or not, because the arresting officer was a young white man, along with a black, heavily pregnant woman. Her name is Maggie. And the other guy's name is irrelevant because I don't even remember his name. He's irrelevant to my story. I did take him on though. So, anyways, so the guy says he's going back to the house if I can give them the address. Now I didn't know the address, so I was like, it's in this area through this boom gate. That's all I know, and it's a big white house. And he was like, okay, I'm going to go and find this guy now and see who's at the house and get more info. And we're going to go arrest him. So I'm like, okay, awesome. This is happening awesomely. Like, great. And so they keeping me in the back, still talking. The girl is writing down the statements. They're making me relive everything like second by second. And then they wanted to write more and longer, and then I had to repeat myself. So it was just reliving trauma the whole time. And I later learned that it shouldn't have been in a male's presence at all. It should have been only female officers who had asked me questions, who had heard my story, etc. So, well, in such detail. So, in my mind, this arresting the officer, the detective, has now gone to arrest this guy. I've given him his address, everything. I've given him everything that they needed to arrest this guy and go look at his phone. Like pull, even if he deleted it, I'm sure there's a way that the police can hack things. Like I just assumed it, but we don't live in America, so it's not Interpol, it's not FBI, it's just South African police service. Okay. Anyway, so the Maggie chick is telling me that I need to go to the Natal-Spruit Hospital to get a rape test kit done. And I said to her, there's no reason. I've just given you a statement. Where in the statement did I ever say that there was rape? She says, girl, you don't know you had drugs in your system from whoever gave you drugs. If that is the case, we hadn't determined it at that stage, but she said, we just want to go check. So I said, okay, can I not go in my own personal capacity to like a doctor, like a private doctor, and just get that done and then, come back here later or something? And she said, no, it's got to be done this way. It's Natal-Spruit. So I go with them and we get to the hospital. I'm still very confused about why I'm there. I go in, it's obviously, you can imagine the scene, it's just me and a whole bunch of people that are sick, and I've never been to this area in Johannesburg before. I didn't know what was going on. This hospital, I later on learned, is one of the worst, and I was in there and they took me to the back to this long passageway that I had to walk down, and then I got into a room with a man and two women. And Maggie says to them that they must do a rape test kit. And I kept saying it's unnecessary. But anyways, Maggie left. Okay, she left me there. She said, I'll be back just now. It's confetti. So I said, okay. So we had gone there in the police van. All right. Or in their police car. So I was sitting in the back of their police car, not the van, the car. And So he told me to take off my underwear. So I went to the bathroom, took off my underwear, and left it in the bathroom. And then I came back and they said, sit down. I sat down on the examination bed and they said to me, what happened? So I told them again, relived it, told them this is what happened. And then the guy said to me, so why are you here? So I said, this is exactly what I said. Why am I here? This is not, I don't need this. So he phones the Maggie girl back on their radio, talkie thingies that they have. And she comes back, but now she's angry. And she's flicking me and she's going like, the head is going. And I'm just like exhausted at this point. And I'm like, I just want to actually go home. This was a mistake. Like, just let me rather just leave this. And no, that wasn't the case. So she's like, let's go. So I followed her and I was walking maybe 5 meters behind her towards, as we got out the almost said hospital, towards her car. And I heard her radio to the other detective that I am now under arrest. And so I was like, I'm sorry, did you just say I'm under arrest? And she says, yes, sweetie pie, you're under arrest. So I said, for why are you arresting me? And she said, let's get back to the police station and I'll tell you why. Oh, I must just add in there, whilst we were in the back there busy arguing about rape test kits and her having an attitude and whatever, I said to her, I'd like to go home, please. Please, can you stop being such a bitch to me? That's what I said to her. Okay. And then anyway, so we get back to the car and as we arrive at the police station, I got out of the car and I wanted to go put my handbag in my car, or the car. So I started to walk their car towards my car to go put my handbag in the boot. So at least if I'm getting arrested, I don't want them to have my stuff. And then they chased me down and were like, where do you think you're going? You're under arrest. And they tried to put handcuffs on me and I tried to explain, I want to put this in my car. And they didn't let me, and they took me back with one handcuff on and they were pulling me with the other side of the handcuff. So we went back into the back where initially I gave my statements, and I'm still very confused because they haven't told me what they're charging me with. They were just telling me you're under arrest. Yeah, and what seemed like forever, they were taking a second statement from me. And it was exactly the same statement. I said exactly the same thing. I hadn't done anything wrong. I'm not sure why you're arresting me. If you're going to arrest me, can I have my call to phone someone, to tell someone that my phone had died by this stage, it was dead. I need to tell my father at least this is what's going on so that they know where I am. And that was denied. So they took me to, it's like interrogation room. And then this way, there's a bathroom where I guess they put the prisoners first and then check that they don't have anything in their bras and whatever. Except this was done by a male, no female. And they stripped me down. So I was standing there with nothing on. All right. Whilst the door was open and all the other officers were walking past looking in, and so I was very exposed. I was crying. I was just like, please, can you close the door at least, like, please. Anyways, once that was over, they put handcuffs on me and they walked me like 10 meters down some stairs. We turned left, then there was these containers that's like a holding cell. Put me in the container. And then I kept saying to them, where's my rights? Like, you're supposed to read me my rights. I'm sure that you're supposed to read. I wasn't sure of the law back then. So I was like, I'm sure you're supposed to read me my rights. And they just said, we will get to that. We'll get to that. And then eventually they said, we're not going to do that. So I fell asleep on the stairs. It was disgusting in there. It was like people had peed on the floor, and then someone came with a hose pipe and just went like this, but they didn't scrub it. That's all it smelled like. And there was little mattresses like this size very broken and gross and dirty, and the toilet wasn't working, and I had sussed out the cell, and then I decided the safest and most cleanest place was going to be just sit on these little stairs leaning up against the back of the container. There was like a little sunroof thing coming in, and that was where I was getting sun because I was freezing. And then I remember just sitting there, and I was like in and out of sleep because obviously I'm exhausted by this point. um Eventually someone came in, they opened it's like a little window that they opened to talk to you, and they threw my rights piece of paper, my rights, that they threw it in there, and then they shut it. They said nothing, so I picked it up and read through my rights myself. And then they hours later they came and got me, and they took me to the front, and I saw there were different officers that were on duty at the time by the time I'd gone back around after being in the cell for so long. And I said to the one, can I please use your phone? I need to phone. Okay, I do get my rights. So I like held up the piece of paper and I said, here, it says here, you have the right to a phone call. It says it here. Please can someone, they were all ignoring me. And it was only until I burst into tears and started getting hysterical that one of the newer people that I hadn't seen before gave me his cell phone and said, you can use my cell phone because we don't have landlines that can work, which I found very strange. This is a police station. But anyways, he gave me his cell phone. I phoned my dad. I was like, phone me back on this number now. So that guy didn't waste his airtime. He was happy with that. My dad phoned me and I said, they're arresting me. I don't even know what the charges are for yet. This was a very bad idea. You need to get me out of here. Help me, please. Please help me. And whilst I'm talking to my dad, John, and the detective who went to go and arrest the guy that he was supposed to go arrest arrived back with John and not the guy who had done what he did. And John was now there to take my belongings. And he tried to defend me, and he was saying, whoa, but no, that's what's going on. What is the reason? And they took him to the back, and I could hear them screaming at him and interrogating him and intimidating him, should I say. And then he said to me, eventually they said, we're going to arrest you if you don't stop, sir. So he had to stop. And then I said to him, John, and I was like, please phone my father, tell him where I am, tell him what they're doing, get me a lawyer, help me now, I need help now. He took all of my stuff, my jewelry, I took everything off and I gave it to him, and I said, keep it safe, get hold of my father, help me. Then they took me away, handcuffed once again, to the back of a police van that I had to get into, and they drove me from Brackenhurst to the main Alberton police station. It's a bigger one, I'm assuming. I went straight through the back door and I saw the very first white police officer that I'd seen during this whole ordeal, besides the detective. And I thought, yet maybe this was a racist thing. I wasn't sure what was going on because they're not listening to me when I talk. So I thought, okay, let me ask him. So I asked him, and he ignored me. He looked down like he didn't see me standing there crying, going, I've been wrongfully arrested. Something is wrong. Help me. And then he's looked at the docket or the piece of whatever they gave him, and he said, perjury and crimen jura. So I said, what does that even mean? What is perjury? What is crimen jura? Don't you know this? You should know the law. Well, it doesn't want to tell me. So whilst I'm standing in the back where they take everyone's confiscated alcohol, like in a big cage in the back, there's a confiscated alcohol and stuff. I was standing there waiting to be, I guess, booked in, processed and all that stuff. And I turned around, and on the wall behind me there was kind of description of the different kind of crimes you can commit, and that's when I found out what perjury was. I never knew what crimen jura was until much later on. But perjury is two written statements that conflict against each other that you've said under oath, of which that did not happen. That didn't happen. Like we relived it. We asked to see the second statement in court. We never got to ever see the second statement. Anyways, eventually they took me from the back to the holding cells where I was going to spend the night. But instead of putting me in the one with the girls, they carried on walking and put me in the one with the boys for approximately 10 seconds. They closed the gate behind me. The men started getting up and coming. Like, I don't know what those men were in jail for. I don't know. And I'm a young girl, like, and now, and it was just, it was probably one of the ones that make me shake still, memories. Anyways, so after 10 seconds, they said, that's a favor to Maggie. Okay, so Maggie's the pregnant lady who I said, please stop being such a bitch to me, crimin and juror. Okay, so that's where that whole crimin and juror charge comes in. By the way, crimin and juror is only, it's only punishable by a fine. It's not punishable by arresting and torturing you for 36 hours. So the guys was taking their members out of their pants and coming towards me, and then I was screaming and bashing on the gates, was screaming, and then they let me out and they're laughing as a favor to Maggie and put me in with the girls. Now, when I got in with the girls, there was this old white tanny and there was a young black girl. I don't know what they're in there for. I'm hysterical. I had hair extensions in my hair. And I remember they were like going like this to my hair, the girls. I don't know what they were doing, but like obviously I felt very, shouldn't be happening. I don't do anything to deserve this. A million things are going on through my head. When it was time for dinners and breakfasts and lunches, they would deny me. Now that they denied me to drink, eat, nothing. I couldn't. They didn't want to, and then I would always say it's a favor to Maggie. So they wouldn't even let me drink or eat. So I ended up drinking tap water out of the tap at one stage, I remember. And the tap was like broken, so it like sprayed up at you. So I was just gathering it in my hand and just doing, very surreal when you look back at it. And actually, when I look back and be like, yo, but you survived that, cool. But so they would refuse me anything to eat or drink while I was there. The mattresses were again this thin. I had no pillow, and they refused to give me a blanket. Let me just keep on reiterating. Every time I was denied something, they would say, "This is a favor to Maggie." So this is why I will never forget her name. The other arresting officer, I don't know. I think I can remember his name if I had to think really hard. But anyways, okay. So it's now the next day, and hardly slept during the night. Woke up, got called to the front, like where I initially came in, and I thought it was, yay, they're getting me out of here. And it turned out they just wanted to, it was one of those people that profile you to see if you fit any other crimes that's being committed. And I remember I was speaking to this man and he was looking at me very confused. He was like asking me the questions he had to ask, but he was a white man. He was looking at me like, so he says, what are you doing here? I said, I don't know. I've been unlawfully arrested. I'm waiting for someone to help me. And then he just said, okay, all right, all right. And then I thought he was going to help me, but I don't even know who that person was. So I've never seen him again. It was during the night before I went and got profiled. The black lady, she had a cell phone, and that was hidden, obviously, that she hid. And I said to her, please, just let me please send me a please call me to my dad, please. And I actually managed to speak to my dad in prison. I say prison like I was in prison, but it was prison for me. That was prison, even though it was holding cells. That was prison. I was locked up. My rights were taken away. It was as simple as that. It's a horrible feeling when you're in the back of a police van. You look out, and it's always hard to talk about. Like when you look out of the little slats and I just saw like everybody else getting on with their lives and they had all this freedom. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. Anyways, so after that, I got profiled. They denied me food again. By this stage, I was so hungry. John had tried to bring me a takeaway and a jacket in the middle of the night, and they refused to give it to me. So as another favor to Maggie, I would later find out. I don't know what time it was, because in prison, time goes so slowly. You have no idea. There's not a clock on the wall. You don't know what the time is. You just assume by the lights what the time is. I would say around about 10, 11 o'clock. And they call me or they come get me and they take me to the like there's like a little room that you can before you can go out of the bars, like the gate that's locked, that you go out of your cell around and you can go in there. And then I met my lawyer for the first time. John had managed to find me a pro bono lawyer called Johan. He was from Thurlby Park. And he had rushed over. He was a police officer back in the day, and now he was a lawyer. And so he knew the people that were in there, and he like I could just hear him screaming and demanding now, now, now. And then he said, go get whatever's left in the cell now and come. And I said, I literally am wearing what I have. I've got nothing with me. That's it. And then I remember feeling just a sense of kind of, okay, I'm gonna be okay. He's gonna take me now and I'm gonna leave. But that wasn't the case. So he came with me to, I managed to now no longer be locked up behind that bar, and I walked down the passageway once we got out there. So I basically passed everyone that comes into the police station to get like your documents stamped or whatever. So now I'm this girl walking past. I'm so embarrassed. I don't know where to look. I'm just like focusing. He took me to the room where the lady processed my fingerprints and all that jazz. She was also giving me a lot of attitude, just felt very that I need to shut up now and stop speaking for myself and advocating for myself. I have a lawyer. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm done. So my lawyer was telling her, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We better get this girl to the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court now so that the judge can let her out. By this stage, it was Monday morning, 36 hours after I'd been arrested initially. Well, I'd say about 28 hours, because I still spent more time in their holding cells at the Palm Ridge Magistrate Court. And basically, when I got there, on the way there, they handcuffed me in the back of the van and drove recklessly on purpose. Another favor to Maggie, where I had bruises all down my body. From being thrown around. You can't really get up because you're like this, trying to move yourself around and pick yourself up while they're still just very frightening experience, going around corners and you can hear their wheels screeching. Like I was so worried they were going to roll it and I was going to die, and that was the end of my story. Anyways, finally got to the Palm Ridge Magistrate Court, got taken in through the back, through the bottom. There's like a, I don't know, it's like a place. And I went in and I remember standing there waiting for them to now put me wherever they were going to put me. And they were all like skinnering to themselves amongst each other. Excuse me. And eventually they took me to a holding cell, which I could see from when I had arrived. There's like a big cage, and then I went around it. I went to a holding cell by myself. There was no one else in there. But while I was sitting there waiting for the lawyer to go to hand my docket or my file over to the magistrate to get a ruling or whatever he was going to go do, I couldn't understand it at the time. The prisoners were like walking around the corridors in single file. You could see they were being processed. Those people were there for crimes. You know, they were going to jail and waiting to go to the bigger jail or whatever. This was still a much bigger jail than the one I'd just come from, I'm just saying. And as they were walking past the window by where the toilet was on the other side of the room, I'd say it's about a 7 meter by 3 meter room. I was trying to hide behind the corner from them because they were looking in the window and taking their penises out and sticking it against the window like this and saying things in another language. And I obviously assumed I knew what they were saying, what they want to do. And I couldn't even pee. I held that pee for like 8 hours. I didn't pee because the window was right there. That made no sense to me that they would put the window right by the toilet. But anyways, it was what felt like 5 hours later. The lawyer finds me and he says, he comes to my cell door and he says, apparently they've lost your cell keys, so nobody can let you out. So I'm busy looking now. I'm looking for someone to let you out. I promise you, I'm trying to help you. Just hang 10. I'm like crying and just like, this has been, please just get me out. I don't know why they want to do this. And maybe about 20 minutes later, another officer unlocks my cell while my lawyer is busy running around trying to find someone to unlock my cell. And the lawyer says, I mean, the guy says to me, that was the last favor for Maggie. That's what he said to me. And I remember just being like, which way? I just said to him, which way? How do I get out of here? Which way? And he said he pointed. So I ran around the cage back where I came in, like when they came in with the police vans. And I didn't stop running. And I remember running through a location. There's like a location directly next to Palm Ridge Magistrates Court. And I remember running through the shacks to try to get around to find the entrance. I didn't know where I was. I didn't seen it. I didn't know where I was. And I finally found the entrance and I ran through, and then I ran up all the stairs into Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, and I was running up and down the corridors looking, and then I found my lawyer. He found me and he's like, oh my word, okay, got you. And then John was also there and he said, John is looking over there, let's go get John. Anyways, we all reconvened outside. Maybe 10 minutes later, I had a cigarette because I was a smoker, and I was just like, this was a lot. So he looked at me and he said, what do you want to do? And I said, these are the names, because right then and then I remembered everyone's names. So I said, these are the names of the people. This is the name of the stations. And whoever the highest person is, I'm suing. This is absolute bullshit. I'm taking it on. I'm not scared.
No, nothing.
Oh, so the magistrate said to Johan, my lawyer, what the fuck is this girl doing in jail? Tore up my docket and said, get her out of there. That was the magistrate's reaction to me being in jail. I'm sorry for swearing. I don't know if that was allowed. Sorry, but that was what was said. So later on, I found out about that's how the magistrate behaved.
That's why
and
they
that
just
it took
unlocked
them,
the door.
Yes, they just unlocked the door and let me out. Anyways, I remember we were saying they're smoking, and you said, what do you want to do? I said, let's take them on. Let's do whatever we can. Let's get to the highest minister of police. I sued everyone, every single person. I sued both arresting officers. I sued all three: Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, Brackenhurst Police Station, and Albertsons Police Station. Both arresting officers, and the minister of police.
Maggie?
Yeah, both arresting officers. She's one of the arresting officers.
Is it?
Yeah. So Maggie was heavily pregnant. I'm going to go ahead and say about 8 months pregnant, very, very pregnant. I get it. I've had 3 children since then, and I know hormones, but to torment someone for 36 hours. Anyways, let's fast forward to the end when I finally got justice. It's not really justice, but let me just tell you what kind of justice I got. 4 years later, I'm in court. And I have to stand in front of the judge and retell my story now for the billionth time. Mind you, in those 4 years, I've gone to psychiatric wards for post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic anxiety, blacking out from it was just so much emotional strain and whatever that I'd gone through to get to that point, And now I'm standing up and both of the arresting officers are there. So this is the first time I'm seeing them after 4 years also. And when the judge said to ask each of them separately, after I had given my statements and said everything, she said, do you know what the definition of criminal injury is? She asked the Maggie and she asked the other guy, and they both said no. And so she said, do you know what perjury is? And then they both said no. They couldn't give the definition of either one of the 2 charges that I'd been charged with. And that was when the moment that my lawyer nudged me, because I was sitting on the floor behind him because I didn't want to look at them. And he nudged me like this and he said that you've won it. It's going to win. You're going to win now because they don't even know why they arrested you. And you've gone through all this trauma and you're still going through all this trauma. I still am in therapy to this day because sometimes it comes back to me and it's horrible. And then, yeah, so we initially sued for 1.5 million. And I only got just under 150,000 Rand. Both arresting officers were suspended for 2 weeks only, and they went back to work. And yeah, no other justice that I heard of for police stations, unruly behavior. I don't know what the law is surrounding how you charge people who are supposed to protect you in moments like that. People that put words in your mouth saying she said she was raped when I said many times I wasn't raped. But I think that the message is pretty clear. Is like, I have a fighting spirit. I'm not like a lot of people. It took me 7 years to get justice, for my very last payment to come through. And there was a little baby, 5,000 Rand was the last little payment. And I remember my lawyer sent me an email, and it was bittersweet because he said, "There we go, my girl, it's over now." And it's just something that it'll never be over. But there has to be a reason why these things happen. So I try to just try to see the why, and just focus on my kids and making sure. I mean, if I need anything, I don't go to the police station. I never go to the police station. I had to go in there the one day I had to, because I had to get something stamped, and I needed it stamped immediately, like what's a commissioner of oath. And I was in the line and I was shaking and I was crying the whole time. And they were like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing. Can you just stamp this for me, because I want to go. I want to go. I want to go." And then they were looking at me like I'm very strange. But I mean, I wasn't about to say, "Oh, you guys are," I was arrested by. I didn't want to go into that whole story with anyone. But I mean, yeah. So I don't know if you have any questions, but
you have, what happened? Anything happened to the guy that assaulted you?
Yeah, I think he ended up having like 3 children or something, and he still roams the streets. And I think that's the shittest part, because it's all good, take photos, it's not all good, but like I believe that one day he's going to do that to another woman, and she's going to get him, she's going to catch him, and he's going to get what's due. And the shittest thing about everything is that those people at the party, even though I dated John for 2 years after that, none of them believed me. The whole family, because this guy was their friend since they were all in diapers. So they didn't believe me. And to this day, they still think I'm lied about the whole thing and made it up. And so I guess I'm just waiting for God to enter. God will take care of it. I know he'll get what he needs to get. You can't live your life, but it irritates me because he is living his life. I don't know. This is the last I heard, which was probably the last time I ever asked or looked was maybe 4 years ago. I don't make a habit of looking for him. I do know, however, that when John and I broke up, it was days, and that guy was back in everyone's lives, and like nothing happened, and I lost all my friends. And so I think that it's I mean, if your friends don't even believe you, police don't believe you, it was a very horrific feeling. And I hope I never have to feel that way again.
It's a horrific story. This I can see, because unfortunately that's happened in South Africa. Do you think that the money is, even if it was 1.5 million Rand, it would have made no difference to the way they treated you? But that's always going to stay with you.
Listen, I wasn't even after the money. I said to him that I'm after justice.
What justice?
No, definitely not. I don't think so. I think, if anything, they don't even remember me. They've forgotten about me. And I've got to live with it for the rest of my life, and I've got to be the one who is scared to do anything that remotely involves the police. I mean, we got pulled over the other day, my husband and I was in close to not Brackenfell, man. Close to Benoni. Because sorry, it's the crying. The crying has made my nose start running. It was close to Benoni. They pulled us off, and I was pregnant. And this was the beginning of the year, and the cops pulled us over, and I got out of the car and I stood about 10 meters away and let the traffic officer talk to my husband, because I can't do it. Like, if they talk to me, I'm like, yes, Mr. Officer, yes, no, Mr. Officer. Like, I have to have the utmost respect for them, because I am terrified of what they will do to me if they twist my words, or if some documentation isn't correct, or I just don't even want to. So I got out of the car pregnant, stood there with my hands behind my back like this, my belly is sticking out, and he was looking at me and asking my husband, "What's she doing?" And my husband said, "No, she needs to pee, so she's just standing over there waiting for you to be done so we can go." And then when we left, I was so beside myself. When I got to where I was going, I cried and cried. And I mean, this is 12 years later. I mean, and I'm still behaving this way, and I'm in therapy, hectic therapy. And luckily I don't have post-traumatic stress disorder anymore. Myself and a kinesiologist, so somebody who works with balancing and kind of like a life coach. She got me off of all the pills. I currently now have postpartum depression, so I'm just on antidepressants for that, just to get me through that. But other than that, I mean, I'm not a drug addict. I'm not an alcoholic. I didn't let it destroy me. But I think that's because I had kids, because before I fell pregnant with my daughter, my firstborn, I was on another mission, and numbing, until I faced it head on, bravely, in therapy. That was the only time that I could actually get over it. But and I will always try and tell my story where I can, but I find it to be quite draining. There's obviously more to the story in terms of little fillers, but I tried to give you the most relevant information as I could, and I tried to remember as much as I could.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Do you have a message to other ladies out there in 16 days of action? So I've changed it from 16 days of activism to 16 days of action, because you actually did take action. It was not easy. You paid a high price for that as well. But you fought back. Do you have a message for the other ladies, for other women out there?
It might seem impossible, but it's possible. You just need one person to believe you. You just need one person to take your hand and say, "This is what we're going to do." I didn't have a lot of money. My lawyer was pro bono, luckily, and he got his money. I wanted him to take everything. I said, it feels like dirty money at the end of the day. That's what it felt like. But all I have to say is just, you need to recenter, sit with yourself. And if you have children, just think to yourself, if it was your daughter, what would you want her to do? What would you do? Would you not fight? Would you not try and make the country a better place? I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of those people. I wasn't afraid then, and I'm not afraid now. I'm pissed off because you had to traumatize me like that. But I promise you, justice might not have been served in the way that we understand justice. But I stood up for myself for 7 years. And I will always be so proud of myself for that, for reliving it, for carrying on, for pushing, for sticking by my guns, and for not allowing people to make me out to be a liar. I know my truth. I know what happened. And just know that there's lots of people out there who believe you, and they've been through it, and there is a support system.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you, Chantal.
It's my pleasure.
I've empowered myself, I have practiced and trained. Fear won't control me. With my sisters in arms. We will make ourselves heard. We'll stand together. I'm a girl on fire. I'm not a victim. A girl on fire. I'll stand my ground. Girl on fire. I've made a choice. I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. We're girls on fire. We're not victims. We're girls on fire. We'll stand our ground. Girls on fire. We've made a choice.